President Biden getting called out for ducking Democratic leaders and ignoring the surging migrant crisis in America's biggest city. Mayor Eric Adams unloading on the president for snubbing him during Biden's trip to the Big Apple.
I'm very public. Everybody knows who I am. We'll release if we're going to be with the president or not. There's still an opportunity for him to look at the Roosevelt Hotel like the Hispanic congressional delegation did several days ago.
It may look like you're avoiding each other while he's here.
I don't search through a thesaurus to find a politically correct way of saying you are hurting me, you're hurting my city, if that's what someone is doing.
The president in town for 4 days for the United Nations meeting, but also had ample time to get dinner with his family at a fancy restaurant, attend multiple fundraisers, including a star-studded Broadway for Biden campaign fundraising event, and tie up the traffic for hours and hours at a time. But the crisis is getting harder to ignore. 10,000 migrants crossing the border yesterday alone, forcing Eagle Pass, Texas, to declare a state of emergency. And Karine Jean-Pierre losing her cool when pressed on how the president plans to deal with it.
So what do you call it here at the White House when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So what do you call it, Peter, when GOP puts forth a wait, no, you can't.
Karine?
I'm answering. Okay, we're going to move
You're
on.
answering the question with a question?
No, we're moving on.
Karine,
moving.
please.
In the back.
Now, you said you were stopping the flow at the border.
No. I tried to answer, Peter,
okay.
I tried to answer the question. You stopped me. Let's go.
I'm going to say, actually, with the border, how many people coming into this country illegally is enough?
I know the numbers, but enough for what?
Enough just to stop the flow.
As I mentioned, this is a problem that's been around for some time now, for decades, a broken system.
Jessica, does that make you want to scream?
It doesn't make me feel great.
Yes.
I just think that the conversation around it in the White House press briefing room and what's going on the ground can just all be managed much better. No one is expecting that a Democratic president is going to completely reverse his policies writ large and say, you know what, I want a solid wall, because I have seen a lot of people climbing through the border wall. So that's not even managing to stop folks. I understand why Eric Adams is making the case that President Biden was here and he should have met with him about it. There are a lot of things that were obviously on the president's docket. I don't think that anyone should not be able to have dinner with their family or go to fundraisers. Well,
yeah, I agree
it's
with
a
you,
normal
but there's
thing.
many days.
But it's obviously not. It was a snub, one that he is entitled to make, one that many presidents make when they don't want to deal with it. But now that you have Kathy Hochul giving interviews where she was like, enough is enough. We need to do more work permitting, which I do think is a major step forward in all of this. She's like, we got to close up shop here. And you're going to have more Democrats saying that. And it is going to become more of a headache for him.
What about the work permits, Judge? Because that's not going to stop the flow.
Are you kidding me? 472,000 Venezuelans just got temporary protected status so that they could work. And with that, they get Social Security numbers. And with that Social Security number, you know what they can do? They can get a license. And with that, then they can register to vote. Let's not kid each other. That is true.
That is not true.
You know what? There are several points of identification that you can use to register to vote. One is a Social Security number and one is a license. Now, let me finish. When Biden says he's done more to secure the border and deal with the issue of immigration, according to Karine Jean-Pierre, than anyone, that is so not true. It turns out that this past month of September, and we're not even done yet, will be the highest number of illegals coming through the border. So the question is, why are we not enforcing the law? And why, everybody wants to blame everyone else. There's enough blame to go around. How do you stop this? You stop it by closing the border. You stop it by not letting them come in. You stop it. And Joe Biden did everything he could to make sure that this thing could have been, that this country can be invaded. And we are being invaded. He got rid of Title 42. He got rid of Remain in Mexico. He stopped the wall. He's cutting the Texas razor wire. The economic impact of a country like ours, where we are, $33 trillion in debt? And we're running a $1.3 trillion deficit. Now we have to pay for education, medication, housing. We don't even know where to put these people. And the president can't meet with the mayor of one of the biggest cities and most wealthy cities in the country, one of the most influential cities, because this is what he wants.
It's interesting to see this detachment from the issue, like the White House trying to just say there's no problem here when you can just see it with your own eyes. It's like the question when they say, oh, nobody actually thinks the president's too old to be president. It's like, actually, no, people see things with their own eyes. And with Bill Maloogian's reporting, one of the only places you can see it is here.
Yeah, it's like almost like you can't believe them, you know, when you question elections and they laugh at you and it's like, why should I believe you? Oh, you're an idiot. And then with your own eyes, you see that they're lying. They're gaslighting you. And I hate that word. Who controls the border? The president. Ergo, Joe Biden is not president because he doesn't control the border. Someone else is in charge who is pushing open borders regardless of consequences to American citizens. Probably the same person who's behind the abdication of law enforcement or homelessness. All of these three items fall into the same bucket, a descent into chaos to overturn a country. It's not the migrants' fault. Who wouldn't want to come here? You know, they're incentivized, they're invited by this other invisible president, and they're promised free stuff, right? And Joe, he's an old vessel, just happy to be there, a vacuous figurehead, and it's not accidental. If you look at it, again, put it next to the crime problem, put it next to the homeless problem, doing nothing at all destabilizes a country. And in order to have a country, a stable country, you have to have a border. So why are we not having a border? Because we want to destabilize the country. And the worst part about Biden, he has no idea what he's doing. What he doesn't care. He's just happy to wear the aviator sunglasses and fly in a private jet, just like Jesse.
And what about the White House just refusing to answer, or suggesting they were going to answer a question by being flippant and sarcastic about it, but not actually giving you and the American people answers about what their policy is?
Well, because they don't have a policy, they don't have solutions. Joe sees this as an opportunity, and here's why. The birth rate in this country is only 1.7. Their calculation is, instead of encouraging American birth, they are bringing in Latin America to increase our birth rate, because a country with a rising birth rate has to be over 2.1, directly tied to national economic power. The second thing, wages. They were exploding under Donald Trump. 2019, it was like a $5,000 raise. That cuts into corporate profits. So I believe what happened was corporate America, the CIA is the front for corporate America, Joe Biden's donor aligned with the cartels, and they just created this conveyor belt of new workers into the country to drop down wages so corporate America could have thicker profits. And this is the stupidest reason. He just wanted to do the opposite of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think
that's the dumbest reason. But he was, I'm not Trump. I'm going to do the opposite, which is open it up. There's also a really stupid calculation. This is the one that's dumb, that he thought this would appeal to American Hispanic voters. That they would say, oh, Joe Biden, such a humane policy. It's actually turning them off to it. And then the other thing is he just wanted to turn Texas blue. The Castro brothers have admitted it. Schumer's admitted it. They want to flood it with Hispanic voters. Eventually, in a generation, it's going to go blue, and the Republicans will never have the electoral juice to win the White House.
So you are admitting, though, that undocumented people in this country are not voting in elections. You're admitting it's their kids.
What I'm admitting, though, is, well, in Pennsylvania, if you get a Social Security number and a driver's license, you get an automatic ballot sent to your house.
You vote.
Getting a tax ID number is not the same thing as getting a Social Security number.
But they're getting Social Security numbers. That's a pull to the other immigrants who are coming in.
All right. To be continued by a lot. All right. Coming up, the author of a sexually explicit book that can be found in public schools around the country says Republicans are right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.